What do you think are the main sources of legitimacy for Sisi today in Egypt?
I think Sisi has two legitimacy in Egypt, two sources of legitimacy. The first one that is easy to understand is the legitimacy of the state institutions. He's representing the state institutions that have been like what we call the deep state in Egypt for years. They have made like a network that governs the country, and he's a representative of this network. This is first. Second, the popular legitimacy is that I think that the people have voted and elected the Sisi as a representative of the only institutions that the people in Egypt were still believed during some Mubarak that it's still far a little bit from the corruption and what happened to the other institution and dissolving that happened in other institution, which is the army. So people choose him as a strong man who can achieve change in Egypt. This is, in my opinion, why people choose him. They choose him because they don't want stability or they want things to go back like it was during Mubarak, but because they want somebody who is strong to be able to achieve change. And President Sisi and the institution behind him, the army, in the view of the Egyptians or normal people, is the institution that is able to do that. I think people are really starting now to feel no change is not happening in Egypt. Still the first indicators, but it's no. They asked last Friday for another manifestation to support Sisi, and there was nobody in the street except a few. So that means that there is like people are questioning themselves if he's able to do this change or not. In my opinion, that he is not, because of this first source of legitimacy that came in the network. He cannot go out of this network. He's part of it. He depends on it. Now, it was very easy for a new president to, for example, to fire the Minister of Interior and say that he's responsible for Rabah and for everything, and cut his head like the idea of the sheep. But he didn't do that. Not because he believes that this man is the Minister of Interior is a good man, because simply he cannot do it. He depends on them. And now, if he after what happened yesterday in the football match, if he fire him, simply the police will not work with him. Simply like that. So he cannot achieve change. People start feeling that, but still far from believing that.
So how do you assess the gap between the new Egyptian constitution in terms of formal constitution and the material constitution, so its actual implementation?
Actually, let's say it's a little bit far from giving judgment, because we don't have yet the parliament who is responsible to apply this constitution and make the legislation necessary for that. But till now we can say that the constitution was the balance between the power of the state institution and the civil society, or let's say part of civil society that participated in the movement of the 13th of June. So it reflects at some points like the chapter of freedoms and rights, the civil society opinions, very good chapter in my opinion compared to the other Egyptian constitutions. But if you look at the political regime or political system, it gives a lot of privileges to different state institutions like the army, the Ministry of Interior, and the judiciary system. Give them a lot of protection, give them a lot of independence, even from the state. We want them to be independent from the administrative authority, but actually give them like an independence from everything, if they are free to do whatever they want. And that was reflected when the girls graduated from the law school and have the degree, presented their papers to the judiciary, to the Ministry of Justice to enter a kind of judiciary system in Egypt, part of this judiciary system, and they were refused simply because they are women, which means, and despite that in the constitution it's written that the women had the right to take any position in the judiciary system. It was mentioned in the judiciary system because they knew that our judges are very conservative. So We can see it in the laws, like the demonstration law is totally against the freedom of expression in this constitution. The draft of the civil society laws that was issued and it was stopped, it's totally against freedom of association in the constitution. So what is happening on the ground till now, there is a big gap because it was not reflecting the people and the state. It was not a negotiation between people and state, but between part of civil society and state institutions with their power. So the constitution has gaps even itself that need to be adjusted, and we need a real parliament that can implement the positive things that we have in this constitution.
What do you think the future holds for the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt?
I think that the Muslim Brotherhood have lost a lot of their popularity in Egypt, not due to the oppression or something. On the contrary, the oppression gives them back some sympathy from some people, but actually through the policies that they have practiced during the year that they governed. A lot of people think that the real chance for change was when we have people representing the revolution, how they classify themselves, in power, and then they discovered that they are using the same state institutions, like the Minister of Interior, against the people. They are doing the same policies of Mubarak, even the socio-economic policies. So people feel that the Muslim Brotherhood are the one responsible for losing our revolution, or the goals of the revolution. Second, they didn't recognize, or they didn't understand that their only hope to stay in the political life is to have a real democratic state. They thought it's time to gain their 80 years in shadow and in prison to be in full power and throughout all the others, and that's what caused the 30th of June, I think, movement against them. I think that the Muslim Brotherhood that does not have any chance to return to political life in Egypt, except after having a democratic regime. So the role should be now helping others to achieve a democratic state so they can return. But actually, they represent a really obstacle against the movements of others towards democracy. They are putting obstacles because they want to be them who comes again to power, or them who can make the change. Actually, we tried you and we didn't make change. So you have to give another chance to the others, not just to prove that you were a failure and they succeeded, but to be able to return to life again and to political life again. You should help others to achieve democracy.